everyone's like struggling of like, I gotta find my niche, and like, everyone's like, this sucks, there's too many influencers. I'm like, but you're one of the problems. Like, you know, like everybody like doesn't want competition. It makes me laugh, like as if you're entitled to. I'm like, you know, like, Gary, you don't get it. Like I used to be. I'm like, you don't get it. I was doing this before you were born. This was awesome. I was a YouTube sensation when there was 19 of us. You know, like, so I'm glad you picked up on that, and it's hit a lot of people, and I need to continue to do more content about this. By nature, you as a human being are your niche, because we're all really, really different. If you're willing to go, if you're like, hey, I'm an artist or a magician, well then you're not. But if you keep going and just saying what else you are and who you are and what you look like and where you were born, and like, it's niche personified. And I am fascinated because I just always go on what I know is right versus what everyone's kind of pushing. So even my public speaking career, Steve and I were talking about this on our flight this morning from Melbourne to here, like I cursed. That was super crazy off. Like that in 2009, that was just like, what would you say? Steve has grown up in this game. Steve, what do you think? In 2009, when I was really speaking and cursing, what percentage of gigs did that immediately eliminate me from? Just off top. So he worked for a different company. Steve's one of the key executives at Vayner Speakers. Zach, his teammate, was my speaking agent at CAA. And like, we talked about the story of like Zach's boss, because he was kind of like underneath this guy, great guy, Peter. And they called me and were like, hey, you're starting to like, something's happening for you. And we really think you can be big, but you have to immediately stop cursing. And I was like, I have some really bad news. I'm like, I'm gonna have to stay not that big, because I'm just not capable of like, so I dressed super casual, and I'm a businessman. That was crazy. Like you had to really wear suit and tie. Like I was doing all these things wrong, but everything worked for me because I became my niche, because I just stayed. It's back to like, people throw around authenticity all the time, but then they're not. They like, people compromise their authenticity for the algorithm. People compromise their authenticity for the likes. Think about that, for the followers, right? But then if that was true, like, then the culture wouldn't be the way, if Pharrell and that whole crew didn't like make nerd culture cooler, like all the rappers that rock Dragon Ball Z now and fucking Pokemon wouldn't be doing that. It took their courage, because that wasn't cool. Like, and so like, I would tell all of you, like, a lot of people are holding in all sorts of things. Sexual orientation, hobbies, true friendship, other interests that don't fit the profile or the persona that they've built. And the reality is that's the shit that's gonna make people love you. I'm a very real businessman. Like, not like I make money as a personality. Like I'm a businessman. Like built lots of big businesses. And I'm like making videos about garage selling and buying $2 items. And all my real business friends, like the real business people, are like, what the fuck are you doing? And I'm like, I'm showing people how to make $55 out of $2. And like, but this makes you look like, they're like, this is fucking you up. I'm like, it's not. Like I can sit in the boardroom with the most significant business people in the world, and I can go to a garage sale and buy a t-shirt for $1 and sell it for $4. And I don't give a fuck if somebody doesn't want to interact or follow me because of that, or do business with me, because there's so many people that will. And I think everybody here, if they push themselves a little, if everybody here today, tomorrow's next 2 posts, one was, I am 100% focused on making this the single thing that I think can bring the most value to everybody who sees it. Nothing matters for me. And the next one is, I'm gonna talk about some shit that nobody knows about me, but is really me. I think it would change the trajectory of what the majority of this room's up to. I believe that. I believe both posts may do worse than every post that they're accustomed to, because it's not on best practices, but I think it will change in a great way for everyone. I really believe that. Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest problem for a lot of people is they don't convert because their intent and or talents don't convert. I'll explain. Hey Gary, I'm TikTok. I want to have subscribers to YouTube, but they're not good at YouTube. They're good at TikTok, but not YouTube. Like they're not good at blogging, but they are good at TikTok, or vice versa. So that's the ability, the talent. Like there's a very different art form of making short form TikToks than there is in making a 7 to 13 minute video. Those are just different crafts. So one, sometimes that's the hard part. The other part is intent. I think the biggest issue right now for a lot of creators and influencers when they plateau is they plateau because their talents have gotten them to whatever that is. They're attractive, they're funny, they can be a musician, they can sing, like whatever it is, whatever their talent is, humor, beauty, a skill, their talent goes to a certain place, they plateau because they're selfish. Everything's about for them. Gary, I want to convert this audience to buy tickets. I'm like, okay, like what are you doing for them? And so I think we're in an era right now of selfishness at scale. And when I analyze what's happening and who continues to grow when they plateau, I can see a direct correlation from what I do for a living, which is that there's an extra gear of trying to bring value or filling a void that is above and beyond the surface level part of their skill set. You know what I mean? I think for everyone here, if you literally posted something tomorrow with the full framework of why is this good for somebody? Why is this good for them? And entertainment is powerful. Like, it's massive. Why are models good? Like beautiful people bring value. Like I want to look at this. I want to listen to this. I want to see this. But you've got to continue that framework. And eventually when you keep doing the same thing, it's oversupply against it. They've seen that. And what most people do is then they get stuck and they start to get shticky or they try to jump on trends or they're stuck. Because what they haven't realized is they now have to transition to a selfless framework instead of a selfish framework, and almost nobody's thinking about that. Every question is, how do I monetize my audience? Nobody ever asks me like, how do I make it more valuable for my people? There's never a bad time to start a good business.
At times you think like, oh, I should take the safe side when it's like commodities and things like that.
There's never a bad time to start a good business. To your point, you're not wrong. I think that's good. Like, hey, high risk, high reward. But like, if you're gonna build a good business, whether the economy's good or bad, you're gonna win. To your point, if you don't have a clarity that you're building a good business, it's probably not a good idea to just guess. But I have good news for you. When money's flush and fluttering too, unlimited bad businesses start and fail. So to answer your question, don't worry about the outside economic realities. Worry about your capacity or your belief system in what you're building. Got it? This is where people get caught on like, where's the money at? What's the trend? What's the macro thing? If you don't build a good business, it's gonna, like 99% of the businesses 2 years ago when money was flowing failed because they weren't good. Businesses are hard. You know, like it seems like it's not because everyone's an entrepreneur now, but everyone's playing an entrepreneur. NFTs, I think, are gonna be enormous, but right now the brand of NFTs is in the garbage because the greed of last year crushed it because people weren't listening to what I'm always saying, which is 99% of everything always goes to zero. Like right? Like, you know, like, are sneakers a good collectible and something people care about? Of course they are. But 99% of sneakers are not selling on StockX. But everybody got caught up and they put like all NFTs or, you know, people are like, oh, Beanie Babies. But Beanie Babies are a stuffed animal. Stuffed animals continue to sell $1 trillion. Squishmallows are doing just fine, right? So like people are not good at seeing the macro. And so right now, just because a lot of people aren't on the metaverse doesn't mean that it's not an inevitable outcome. Of course VR is gonna happen. The technology is advancing too fast. The new Apple shit is fucking good. We're not all the way there yet, but like online dating was good in 2002, but there was too much taboo to it. So people were like meeting, but they were like lying. Now it's mainstream. So it's all coming. It's just social norms, timing, technology. But if you're into that shit, you should pay attention because if you really pay attention right now and you're actually looking at it every day, you'll have a good sense of when it's gonna bubble up again. If you're not paying attention, it's gonna catch you off guard.